Hello, beautiful souls of the PHI grid. Welcome to your calibration for this month. And this month is going to be a card reading. And as you have voted, some months it'll be an activation, some months it'll be a card reading, but both of them are energetically aligned to calibrate you to the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence, which is the ultimate kind of calibration for your energetic field on this earth. So taking full deep breaths throughout this transmission, because this is a frequency transmission more so than anything else. And I'm going to get into your reading, just tuning into your heart space, resonating with the highest toroidal field, grounding into the center of the earth and all of the black holes. And here you can release any anxieties, any collective fears that are rising up, and any notion of trying to fix something obsessively. Just learning how to deal with suffering as a concept as a whole, because you're so much greater than that. And tuning into all of your higher guidance, clearing all of the telepathic blockages that may have been blocking you from tuning into your truest, innermost, purest self, and connecting with all of your soul stars, dissolving any impure connections that had hindered you from reaching up to this level of consciousness, enabling you to perceive all of your situations from this highest level of consciousness. Taking full deep breaths, aligning with the source field, and coming back to your heart center. And this is truly the last reading that I'm doing here in this room. I'm glad it's with the highest caliber tier of my Patreons, which makes sense. You guys are the highest resonance field. Okay. I feel like there's some wishes that you may have made 4 years ago, and throughout certain moments it felt like you were at the height of some of your alchemic probabilities in terms of the transmutation of certain energy. About 4 years ago there was like an ultimate peak at which it was even it's really different from other years that you've ever lived and that you will ever live moving forward, because all timelines are different. And I feel like there was an ultimate point in which you were faced with some of your deepest challenges about 4 years ago, and you transfigured them internally. And it seemed like at that time, the results were not showing up, but you were not so attached to that. You just had trust that things will unfold. And throughout those 4 years, in the past 4 years, it felt like finally the things are unfolding. From all the inner work that you've done. But what you don't realize is actually it hasn't even started. The effects of what you've done about 4 years ago, and everything you've witnessed until now was almost like an unfolding of the beginning of that cycle. But actually it's gonna start happening now. And that's really, really exciting. I'm like really blissed out for all of you, because you're already content with what you've seen in your life so far, and it was worth it for you. But what you've done actually is so much more potent than what you've seen so far unfold. And things are about to really unfold, and it's about to reveal itself. And it's not like you have to do any more additional work. It's more like you can chill now, and you're much more balanced in this term of like doing. And I would say that the paradigm of you really hustling and grinding is already long gone. You're never gonna have to do that again. It's more so, it's higher in frequency. It doesn't mean that you're not going to put in the energy, but you're going to put in the energy in a more graceful way. But you've already done the deepest transfigurational work, and you're about to see the results of that. And sometimes you'll be like, what did I do to really deserve the things that are happening in my life? Some of you might think that sometimes, but you've already done the work. That's really what it is. And you never complained. That's the thing. Like, maybe you did get apathetic sometimes and this and that, but mostly, for the most part, you weren't complaining. So this is a really pretty intense energy. It has everything to do with Partnerships could be romantic relationships for a lot of people, but generally it has to do with mending a deep level of general alliances, friendships, partnerships that you have in your life. And it starts out with this really promising energy of harmony. So you are finding harmony and you are experiencing this level of alignment that you trust in yourself. And basically it has to do with you being able to trust the entirety of your own universe rather than needing to trust someone in particular or someone in general. But it does look like recently you've had this kind of energy of heartache and some sort of loss, but you're coming out of this and you've been withdrawing yourself emotionally. So you could tell yourself, like, I'm not this kind of person who wants this type of relationships. Perhaps you think you're a complete introvert. You probably are introverted, but a lot of times actually it's not so much that you're an introvert, it's just that you're around the types of people who are not conducive to you opening up fully. So it's a matter of rediscovering parts of yourself that perhaps when you were younger, or like perhaps when you didn't have a lot of social trauma, before that you used to kind of have really deep connections with people, and to a level where perhaps it's not like to the soul level, but even if it was like less deep interactions, you had very fulfilling connections socially before you experienced a series of social trauma, basically, or relationship trauma, whether that was with partners or with friends or with family. So it looks like you're going to be really coming out of this energy of telling yourself that you're not social, which is interesting because obviously you want to discern how much time you spend with other people because they definitely limit your level of consciousness. However, it's a whole other picture to convince yourself that you're not an outgoing or social person. So a lot of you have this misperception that you're just not sociable. You are a very fulfilling person to connect with for other people. I think you can start with that point. And even if it's just a matter of 10 minutes or just 5 minutes, you add a lot to some people's lives that perhaps you don't even recognize. That maybe it's even just for 3 minutes that you talk to somebody and there's something about your interaction that is very heartfelt. And you could even be just more open to acknowledge this about yourself. So I'm not saying that you need to all of a sudden go and have like a 3-hour conversation with somebody. It could literally just be to keep having these little short-lived but meaningful interactions with people, and just know that that's an option for you to have a very deep, fulfilling connection. It doesn't have to be, again, a 3-hour thing. It could literally be good morning to some stranger that's passing by on the streets. Like, there's a profound level of genuine connection that you can experience starting with those little things. And I feel like you're gonna have a whole other level of connecting with the world in this way as you open more and more up to the way that you harmonize with your environment. And yes, there's complete tremendous value in being an introvert. I mean, I recently put up a YouTube video about why I have like no friends and how friends are social constructs, but that was just one way of expressing myself. But of course there's like other ways that you can look at this, and I feel like you're going to be experiencing the different ways that you truly deeply meaningfully experience connections. And it could even just be from very economic interactions, so to speak. It could even be like, I don't know, for instance, somebody that you see transactionally. There's this stigma around those types of relationships, like when it has to do with professionalism, that somehow it's not a sacred connection. But if you really think about it, for instance, say you're going to get your hair cut every couple of months and the same hairstylist cuts your hair, and somehow it's like a very boundaried human connection. However, it's very possible that you can build quite a meaningful connection with those professional relationships, or if it's with like a mentor type figure, or maybe even like your therapist or tarot reader, people who have like, even, I mean, I have really good relationships with my clients, and it's not so much about what brought us together, but the fact that we're resonating so deeply in general. And I think that more and more people should be open to the idea that actually economic kind of professional connections bring very tremendous value to one's social life. And so you don't have to really necessarily separate between a personal connection and a professional connection as if professional connections are somehow less authentic. It definitely is. I mean, money is a sacred energy, and these kind of economic exchange is a very sacred energy. And if you're vibrating at a very high level, they could bring a lot of very deep, meaningful connection. And what's beautiful about professional connection is that there's a very, very, say, structured and clean boundary, so that nobody has to kind of wonder or mess around with like being taken advantage of or overstepping one's boundaries, because it's like a very clean agreement. And so I feel like you're going to be experiencing a very whole new different way of relating with people, number one, and then perhaps it gives you a better self-image about the way you are in the world and how you belong in the world. But I also see again here, there's some energy for kind of breaking through the limiting structures about romantic relationships, if it feels like this applies to you. And this has to do with really witnessing the results of like seeds you're planting when it comes to a relationship, as you have no expectations and learn to not hold really because labels come with a lot of expectations and attributes that are socially conditioned. And it looks like you're really learning how to find your own roadmap when it comes to this kind of connection. And as a matter of fact, to love somebody so much that all you really do is like hold a version of them that is like of their highest good, instead of thinking what is the highest good of our relationship, or where can this go. It's more so like you want the best for yourself, and then you want the best for the other person, and then hopefully it will harmonize. And it's almost an emotional gamble. But as you're learning to explore these new frontiers of connecting with people and deconditioning yourself from this structured perspective about what a meaningful, valuable connection is, and less trying to quantify relationships in terms of like what really reflects a valuable relationship. Does it matter how long you've known that person? Does it matter how much time you spend with them? Or is it more qualitative? Is just so like, even if somebody is driving a car, like an Uber or a Grab taxi, and the driver just drives you for an hour, and there happens to be like a short conversation that is very heartfelt. Like I remember I had this conversation with an Uber driver in the United Kingdom, the UK, and this guy was just driving me to the airport, and he was just spitting mad wisdom. And you know me, I'm just like super chill. Like I'm not pretending to be like this spiritual type of person, but the conversation that he was offering was just so profound. Obviously, like in those types of European countries, it's easy to find Uber drivers that are like hyper intelligent, actually, like, because I don't know what it is about those countries. Like the Uber drivers don't really, it's maybe like their side gig while they have something else, I don't really know. But like, I mean, even in, I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but I'm just saying that because like if you get those online taxis in Asia, like the drivers are just a complete different frequency. No judgment, but I'm just saying. So it's really also really beautiful, because in those short interactions you literally have no expectations. It's not like you expect them to offer you a valuable connection. It's not like you expect them to relay a message from some kind of like source level, like some kind of messages from spirit guides or whatever. And so it's a really good example for you to learn like what could possibly happen if you have no expectations. Maybe it's even like your cleaning lady or your laundry person, or like somebody just as I said again, like I think a key kind of factor here of your exploration is the dynamics you have with people who you have this economic exchange with, that you pay for their service or something like that. And because there's that safety net or boundary of that monetary exchange, it takes away from all these unspoken rules about, you know, energy exchange and who's doing giving and receiving, whatever. It's so clean. So from those interactions, as you witness kind of like valuable connections being made there, you kind of learn how to do that with personal relationships that are more personal than these economic professional relationships. And this is just looking at it here, it's like it's going to extend all the way into romantic relationships and friendships and everything in between. And you're going to learn how to really invest in relationships that require you to sacrifice like your basically like this egoic desire to control and rule out where it goes and what that relationship reflects about your self-image, all of that. And also like kind of deceiving yourself and being envious of this possessiveness around a person, whether that is a friend or a coworker or an employee or an employer or a loved one. And so really it's a heart-opening energy around people. And then it's also learning how to see, I mean, this notion of compound interest is not only about financial compound interest, but it also is for social relationships. Learning to discern who really is worthy of investing. It's like you wouldn't really, if you're trying to make an investment, you don't look at the short-term benefits. If you're really down to multiply your income, you look at what's going to give you compound interest, that it's kind of like passive compound interest that adds up over time. And who are the ideal candidates in terms of your emotional connections, friendships, love, that would really build that level of connection, and it would amplify because of the values that they have. And I see you coming out of this with triumph. So really, I feel like before you were almost too afraid to find out what people truly wanted or really look deep into their soul and heart, because I feel like you were kind of emotionally unavailable. And it's from social trauma. For some of you, it's from school. For some of you, it's from family. For some of you, it's from toxic partnerships. For some of you, it's from all of them. But again, as I said, before all of those trauma happened, you had this aspect of yourself that was completely comfortable with this open-hearted trust energy when it came to people. And you knew exactly how to trust and who to trust. And that instinct is coming back because you're opening up to it. And this true prosperity begins with your relationships and also material. This is more of a material card, but I feel like it's signifying this abundance coming out also in relationships. And you're gonna, I think, really surprise yourself because you stood strong and really stood up for your values. And this is like a very fulfilling emotional life that completely reflects also in the physical as like material prosperity as well. But I feel like you're learning really like this deep spherical manifestation of complete trust and this energy of lack programming that's basically responsible for any lack at all, whether it is with relationships, whether it is with money, whether it is with opportunities. I feel that you're just moving past a huge amount of barriers that you had before and stepping into your complete truth frequency, which truth on this divine truth level is some of the highest level frequencies of all time. And you really stepping into your power. And again, this exact message came up to you in the previous 5 grid transmission when I was like, there should be nothing that you feel like you're too shy to express or talk about. And something, if you have some kind of thoughts or beliefs, there should be no aspect in your life where you feel like ashamed to talk about something or feel like it's unjustifiable to feel something, that feeling like some things are not valid. Like, you know, there's this whole conditioning of, for instance, using romance as an example because it's such a trigger for people. It's like a lot of people hold back how they feel or hold back from expressing their true desires because they feel like it's kind of making them look like that psychotic partner, like too obsessed and like controlling or whatever. But most of the time, it's like, unless that's really the case, which I don't even think the people watching this tier of my Patreon are I'm gonna generally vibe that it's not the case that you're that unaware about yourself. And at that level, if you are so used to this self-work and inner reflection and self-consciousness, like not self-consciousness but self-awareness, when things come up, it's valid, and whatever you want out of a relationship is valid. And if you don't feel like you can truly express what it is that you want to express within a relationship and be fully transparent, then you're probably choosing the wrong people to be in any relationships with. It should always be that you can feel like you can totally bring up and talk about anything, unless you're using people as some kind of a crutch to overshare something. But it's, for instance, if it's like you want to assert your boundaries on how you want to be treated and what kind of dynamic you desire, and it's not like you're forcing or controlling the other person, but it's more like you are giving them an option of, this is how I feel, and if you agree, we can try it this way, or if you have any other suggestions, we can talk about it, like an open kind of conversation. So it does seem like there's just so much happening that you are completely it's like walking through a portal when it comes to your experience of reality. And also it's like having a journey through a forest and now entering a new landmark, or like a new pathway that is in an open field. It's like you start to see the bigger picture, and it's like an embodiment of this higher level of consciousness or interacting with the world that's fully becoming actualized in all different aspects of your life, including people. And there's gonna be this kind of recognition, and especially when you speak your truth from the frequency of truly opening up and being transparent, and not using vulnerability as an excuse to dump garbage onto people, but true vulnerability as in, this is how I feel. And even if you feel like there are some unhealed aspects about you that you want to let other people know. And so it's not about justifying your preferences, but still from the place of completely acknowledging yourself and honoring your flaws as they are, as something that you're working on. However, fully expressing yourself from that place of self-acceptance, people can feel that frequency, and that would truly make for a harmonious relationship. So if you experience relationship conflicts, a lot of it is because you're probably holding back on some level the way you show up to the other person and the way you express yourself to the other person. And a lot of times people just have no idea, like they don't have the self-acknowledgement of like, okay, maybe I'm showing up a little bit distorted, and this relationship is distorted and the other person is distorted because I'm also showing up distorted. And it doesn't mean it's good or bad, it just means that you may have been communicating from an unauthentic frequency, or showing up with an inauthentic frequency, or deceiving yourself about what you want because of an inauthentic frequency. So getting completely radically honest about yourself, to yourself, and kind of being open to everything that you thought you wanted from life and relationships, and being open to consider all other options, knowing that you're still learning about yourself, I think is a very humble place that you're coming from. And it does look like all of this is moving you forward to a very divinely orchestrated unfolding of events and people and relationships, and it's something that you're going to learn to witness unfold in this kind of syntropic, like, it's the opposite of entropy. It's like chaos into order. So like witnessing your life, your family, your friends, your alliances, your business, your money also is like very much linked, because this is like the Five of Pentacles energy, which is coming out of your field, and it's so directly related to this Prosperity Begins card. It's like dropping away from lack and abandonment issues, which is the separation that you feel from the source of all life, becoming completely healed, and you experiencing this true abundant frequency. How that is so relative to the harmonization of relationships in your life, because again, economy is one of the most shared bandwidth of energies of all of life in 3D. It is connecting you with the entire global population. The economy basically is like that on an energetic level. It's giving and receiving, and it's connecting you with all of humanity in one way or another, that economic energy, because it's like, what else is that 3D? And that energetic grid is like, literally you cannot escape the economy. Even if somebody is like unregistered and living as a proletariat, it still is relevant because all of the resources are connected. So as you really learn to harmonize your relationships and heal all of these wounds and traumas, and learn to show up authentically to every single being in your life, whether it's somebody that is on the top of the social ladder or the bottom, you show up authentically to everyone and share based on the limited amount of time you have with each person or interaction, completely sharing your 100% authentic frequency. It shifts your entire life. It shifts your entire social matrix, and thus it shifts your entire kind of relationship you have with the economy, physical and financial abundance. And it's just all connected here, and it just feels like incredible. So I hope that this reading has been helpful. Happy new moon portal. Thank you so much for being there and co-creating this Fibonacci Phi grid sequence with me and the rest of this beautiful community at Starseed Energetics. I'm really looking forward to see you very, very soon. Bye.